The time now is 7:45. Intense negotiations continue to try to save the San Francisco Chronicle. Paper's management and union leaders say they will spend the next several weeks trying to prevent the newspaper from going under. But both sides say one thing is clear: at least 50 Chronicle employees will lose their jobs. The owners say the Chronicle lost $50 million last year. It's expected to lose even more this year. Len Sellers joins us. He is the CEO of Hammer to Anvil, an internet consulting company. He is also a professor emeritus of journalism at San Francisco State University. Nice to have you here this morning.
It's a pleasure.
This is a story playing out in cities all across the country. Why?
Absolutely. Because newspapers are dying.
Why?
A variety of reasons, mainly the internet, of course, and the loss of advertising revenue, which has shifted away from their balance books out into the Ethernet, as it were, and it's never coming back. And they're simply not economically viable anymore.
I guess some people might ask, why have the newspaper companies allowed their newspapers to go on the internet and they get no money for it?
That's a model that people had faith in a number of years ago, but it's simply not working. Fewer than 10% of all the revenues from a newspaper like Chronicle actually come from the online version. And when they lose 40% of their revenues from displaying classified advertising, those numbers aren't going to match up. There's not enough money for online advertising to support print operations.
Interesting that Walter Isaacson writes in a new issue of Time magazine that newspapers have more readers than ever. Now, is this because people are reading it on the newspapers on the internet?
No. They have more readers than ever, sometimes in terms of gross numbers, but as a percentage of population and household penetration, it's a constant downward spiral. The Chronicle has lost circulation from when it was acquired by the Hearst Corporation of roughly 500,000. They're down to 330,000. They're losing 7% a year in their circulation, and they can't stop it.
What's your gut reaction? I mean, as a professor emeritus of journalism, you taught this for years. What's your gut? It's got a feeling of loss. It certainly should be to the community. I mean, this is the identity and soul of most communities is the newspaper.
You're absolutely right. And it hurts. But they're gone. Right? What we see now is the beginning of the end game. And the community voice, the community conscience, what Arthur Miller called the nation talking to itself, the era is over. I mean, there was a time when the Gutenberg Press replaced the town crier, and what we fail to admit is that the press, as we know it, is gone. But
if the newspaper folds, then eventually nothing's going to be read on the internet news, because you have to have reporters, you have to have people gathering the news, you have to have people that have some semblance of morals and ethics and standards to go by, that you believe what you're reading.
And you notice that to a large degree that's already gone. Investigative reporting used to be one of the things that newspapers would do to keep us in touch with what's going wrong in our society. You know, as the fabric renders, you send an investigative reporter out there and they come back and tell you what's going wrong. Right here in this community in Oakland, the last time that was done, the Chauncey Bailey investigation, it was done by a nonprofit putting together amateur and professional reporters, many of them on leave, as a consortium. It wasn't done by the Chronicle or the Oakland Tribune or anything. It was done by the Center for Investigative Reporting, a nonprofit foundation. We're already there.
Deborah Saunders writes in her column this morning, newspapers are the public referees. Really true.
Very much
and
so.
I'm wondering if iTunes can get to a point where they can charge. Now, somebody figured out how you can buy a single recording for 99 cents. I went out and bought one of these Kindles, too.
Did you really?
And for $5.95 a month or something, I get the Chronicle every day delivered electronically to my Kindle. Why can't a model like that work?
Micropayments will not support the cost of full-time editorial staff. You can reduce your production and distribution costs. That's what ones and zeros will do for you, but it will not replace your staff. That's the most expensive, and micropayments simply won't cover it.
So are you going to leave us with a negative?
I'm really sorry, the bearer of bad tidings, but my prediction after 50 years in this business, a decade from now, there will be no newspapers as we know them today.
I hope you're wrong.
Me too.
Yeah. Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.
7:50 now. Let's go back to the desk.